blackened wings they shone as night.
Used to be so easy to give my heart away, but I found out the hard way there's a price you have to pay. I found out love was not a friend of mine. I should have known time after time. So long, it was so long ago, but I still got the blues for you. It used to be so easy to fall in love again, but I found out the hard way it's the road that leads to pain. I found that love was more than just a game. You're playing to win, but you lose just the same. So long, it was so long ago, but I've still got the blues for you. So many tears should have seen your face. Here in my heart there's an empty space where you used to be. I still got the blues for you. Though the days come and go, there is one thing I know: I'm still got the blues for you.
It's Brenda, Wolf, and Diane, so listen up if you can. Yeah, journey with them today as they help you find your way. Oh, mental wellness is the topic of the hour. Mental health and the power to tap into our alignments will lead to our refinements. awareness that has never been. Phoenix Talks with Brenda Wolf and Diane. Phoenix Talks, so tune in if you can.
Welcome, everyone, to Phoenix Talks with Brenda Wolf and Reverend Diane.
Hello.
I can't change the song, so it's just going to say Diane.
It's all good. That was a fantastic opening song.
Right? Music Starman 33. Thank you so much for sharing that. I actually dug for that song because I was like, what can we play to lead into tonight's topic?
That was absolutely perfect.
Right?
Yes, the topic is, but they apologized. Why do I still feel this way? What's happening? Right?
Yeah.
How many of us feel unresolved? Hi. How many of us feel unresolved? How many of us, and this, I know we've had talks about closure. I know we've had talks about unresolved stuff, but I want to dive deeper into what happens when they apologize, but it isn't a healthy apology. What happens to you, right? Because it feels like you've been wrong. It still feels like you've been betrayed, and that you've noticed that there's this buildup of resentment. There's this like brewing rage inside, depending on the circumstances too.
Wow. Why did I just get the image of, okay, you know what happens when you leave spaghetti sauce on the stove too long?
Yes.
And it all cooks. And then you go to stir it at the bottom and you come up with this crust.
Yeah.
That's the image that I was just given.
Yeah.
To go along with that, because sure, they apologized, but there's still all that crap at the bottom that has to be scrubbed out.
Yeah. So I think what happens when the other person becomes very defensive, that puts them in a place where now they're having to enforce their opinion, whatever it is. And so the manipulation and the gaslighting begins. You finally, after back and forth, get them to understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
And then the apology comes out. Well, I'm sorry you felt that way because it's not what my intention was. Or, well, I didn't mean to do that, so you just need to move on.
Oh, today on gaslighting.
I'm sure we've heard plenty of the like, right? So I believe we've all heard and received.
Like, oh, honey, did you break a nail with that apology?
Yes, because it's
you didn't hurt yourself, did you?
The apology does not have accountability; it has responsibility. They're taking blame. And they're taking on the shame that comes with being wrong, when that's never what it was about. It was about just hearing and understanding you and taking accountability for how they impacted you.
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately, you're in a partnership dynamic, they impact you, period. So if they lack accountability, they could take responsibility and take the shame and the blame and all that stuff that comes with taking ownership, but they're lacking the accountability. The accountability needs to come into play with that level of understanding that says, I heard you. I heard you, and I'm going to take these actions to do things differently so that I don't ever hurt you again. And if I ever do accidentally, I am so sorry. And I thank you for telling me, because I never want to hurt you and I'm going to fix it. That's accountability, understanding the impact that it had. I understand it made you feel this way. I understand that it did this to you, and I can't take that back. All I can do is make it better.
Right. And
real accountability.
We have a small viewing audience right now, but I want to ask everybody that's watching this right now, whether you're on YouTube or Twitch, if somebody has ever apologized to you and they started off with, "I'm sorry, but," okay, has that ever been said to you? And when it happened, when it was said, anything after the but, you heard the but and your body immediately cringed. If that happened, put a yes in the chat because I want to know. It happens to me. When somebody says, "I'm sorry, but," it's just like, yeah, but you don't mean it.
Right. Yes. Yeah, but kind of erases what was just said.
Yeah.
So it's very conditional. There's judgment in it.
What everybody, when they're receiving an apology from somebody, wants to hear, but not necessarily needs to, but wants to, "I'm sorry, and."
Mm-hmm.
And then what follows the "and" is inclusive of what they're going to do to change what they've done. I'm sorry, and there is really no excuse.
And they tell you how they hurt you and how it impacted you, so that you understand that they clearly understand it wasn't okay, and they want you to know that it's not going to happen again. You can't believe them if they don't take accountability and don't hold themselves accountable to their own actions and behaviors. If there's blame shifting, defensiveness, manipulation, gaslighting, and that's Marie. She wants to chime in on this conversation. I'm going to grab her real quick.
She's sorry, but.
Yes, exactly. I'm coming.
That's okay. I don't know if you can or can't hear me, so.
I can, because you're still in my ear. All righty, here's Marie. Marie's having fun with this conversation. Yes, Mommy, I know. So
you recently groomed Marie.
Yes, Reese, thank you, Mommy. Thank you.
I'm cool.
Say hi. So unless you feel like there's resolve, that subject is constantly going to come up in your mind. You're constantly going to be ruminating on it. You're constantly going to be bringing it up to your partner. It's constantly going to come up, and then they're going to sell you, well, you need to get over it. You're holding a grudge, and that was in the past. So that, again, escape accountability and shift right into that shame that comes with being wrong, or whatever it is that they're telling themselves is happening. Because ultimately, you're not trying to tell them they're wrong. You're trying to tell them that you need to feel heard and understood, and you need them to understand how they impact you, and they need to understand how there's a different and healthier way to be, so as to keep harmony. You know, you can't tell somebody you want peace and bring them chaos. So in the feelings that we have of unresolved stuff, is there was never resolve in the chaos. It was just chaos met with more chaos. How many of us have been through that? So what do we do? What do we do? Because that's, like, I mean, I know the answer to that, but I'm going to hit. But that's what is the next question. What do you do? What do we go from here? Because you're not going to get that resolve. You're never going to get that apology. You're never going to get them to take accountability. So now you have all of this piling up.
And what makes it really difficult is, and this is in no offense to anybody who's experienced or living this, but if you have been trained to accept what is said to you, it's going to be even more difficult. It's a sad result of some of the relationship styles that we've been talking about last couple of years so far. But when it comes to somebody apologizing you to with a but them back. But did you mean it? But you just gaslit me. Now, there's a way to do this passive aggressively. There's a way to do this with rage and causing more problems, which you want to avoid usually. And then there's ways where it's okay.
Heart-centered.
Yeah, I know that you're sorry. Could you please apologize? Because I don't believe you. You're continuing to do the same things. You're continuing to have the same behavior. I'm continuing to put up with it, which that is coming to an end very soon if we can't come to some kind of understanding. That is one thing to do. Get the courage, stop being afraid of speaking up and speak up. Now, if it's a different situation, that's a different conversation.
Let's talk about why real apologies are a challenge. They're a challenge because we don't want to face those aspects of ourselves that caused anyone else harm. Why? Because we want to be liked. Why? Because we have trauma that keeps us in that state of trying to make people like us. So we're not, so that we feel like we're something. Right?
Right.
So when we take full ownership of ourselves and view ourselves with that compassion and that non-judgmental lens of just, okay, I could understand myself and why I chose to be that way in that moment, but what can I do for myself to bring myself to a different place so that I don't respond like that again? So there's things to do for yourself to bring yourself to a place where apologies are just as important and easy to do as talking about that it's raining out, bring an umbrella with you. Because at the end of the day, there is nothing that is more healing, more advancing, more productive, and more repairing of a broken trust than an authentic, all-inclusive, genuine, actual apology with ownership. That is so important. Oh, now I know why Marie was barking. I just heard thunder. She knew it was coming.
Oh. You don't like the rain.
No. Now I get it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm
Question
sorry.
from the chat. Karen is asking, can you say that literally about the gaslighting? They might feel attacked.
Well, here's the thing. They're always going to feel attacked anyway. And their response to hearing that you're gaslighting me also tells you where they're at. So anticipate that any time that you bring something up that is going to be hard truth, it's not going to be easily received. That doesn't mean that it's not going to be sunken in when it sinks, when they had time to process it and let it settle in.
Right.
So you got to give space for that to happen. But that's not going to happen if the person becomes shift blaming and starts gaslighting, manipulating, and just trying to enforce their limitations onto you. Mm-hmm. So you just have to know when to back off. You could say that in many ways. You could say your words are not making sense. It's not making sense what you're trying to say because, and then state the facts. You said this before, but now you're also saying this. So which one is it?
Yeah. And so you could sorry for the almost burst. I was laughing at Marie.
Yeah, I know you were. She's very cute.
I get distracted by animal sounds. I'm sorry, but not sorry for that. But anyway.
Yes.
Now, I want to, this is kind of a side branch, okay? Because it was brought up in the chat about everybody has their own perspective and people aren't going to take from your perspective. One thing that I want to bring into your perspective is when you yourself have done something out of character or to somebody, and you're called on it, or you've said something that may or may not have been true for them, whatever the case is, and you're called on it. And when that happens, if you feel that there is any truth in what they said, and it's actual truth, are you going to immediately, oh, you're right? Or are you going to have a different feeling as a result? Because all of a sudden, the outward anger has turned inward, but still wants to go outward. So when our perspectives are challenged and there is truth in it, then yes, gaslighting, calling somebody on them gaslighting you, it's called deflection. And yes, regardless of level of relationship, whether it is just a mild disagreement or worse, there's still going to be a response from them if they're called out on that. And if you know them well enough, you know where the levels are.
Yeah. So I don't want you to feel like there needs to be I know, Mommy, it's okay. There needs to be a fear of whatever their response is. Because at the end of the day, that's already been happening. And there is an opportunity for you when you bring it up to express the reason why this is coming up again is because there's something that's unresolved in it, and we do need to work through it because it wasn't resolved. It wasn't completed. It's still open. And no, you can't erase it just because you said some version of sorry. I know you feel bad. I know that you didn't want to do that. However, I'm not okay, and there's no resolve. I don't know that you're not going to do it again.
Right.
I have no indicator that tells me that you believe that you understand that hurts me. You know, you can say these things when you reopen that conversation. If they don't receive it well, that tells you that if they keep deflecting and keep it's a rubber wall, then you're not going to get through to them. They're just...
Here comes another image.
Yeah.
Man, teenage mentality, don't know exactly the age, laying on a couch, looking through some type of magazine. Female figure walks in, whether it is mother, sister, spouse, whatever the case is, scolds for something not being done again, and without missing a beat, turning the page, I'm sorry, I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah.
When? And this is when the fight began.
Well, we bring things up to our partner because their actions do not match their words. And we're getting impatient because we've asked multiple times. So now they've said yes, and we have this expectation, and they're not meeting those expectations. So how does that hurt you? Well, because they didn't do it, now it sets you back, and now you're taking on more labor. Right. You're taking on more. So basically, you're carrying all the weight at the end of the day because their actions don't align with what they say they're going to do and be for you. You're exhausted and carrying the load. And so that's where the resentment builds up. That's where you feel unresolved because there is no resolve. There's no follow through. Where's the repair stage? They're not intending to repair. They're just expecting you to forgive and erase your memory.
Steve in the chat is saying, preach.
But that's what's happening. That's the reality of the situation. So as long as you understand that and understand okay, I don't want to feel this way. Is this worth that energy? We are obviously not aligned. We're not going to come to a resolve here. This is going to have to be a separate discussion, or this is going to have to be an ending. So you have to kind of use your judgment and discern which way you're going to go. And I see that Steve had said sometimes it's better to leave. Yeah. So it really depends on the situation, but ultimately you need resolve if you're still in that partnership in order for the repair and the rebuilding of trust and connection to occur. Because intimacy happens with connection, but you don't have connection, there's not going to be any intimacy. And now the place falls apart. Yeah. And why? Because you got defensive and you never resolved a conflict. It's a turnoff.
And I had one of those LED scrolling signs with all caps, apologies are not Band-Aids.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is not a Band-Aid to apologize. It is accountability.
Yeah.
To apologize.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you've heard me preach and teach that no one can make you feel any way you don't give them permission to. But you still do. And I honor that. So I don't ever want you to think that I don't. But if there are actions, if there's behaviors, if there's things that continuously happen that the other person says, I'm sorry, but each and every time, it's time to question, okay, is this apology a Band-Aid expecting me to be okay with this so that they can just continue to do it again? No, no, this is a decision that you need to make if this is something that is occurring to you on a repeat basis.
Yeah.
Say, why am I here? What is it that's holding me here? Because they apologized, but I still feel the same way. I'm still pissed off. I'm still hurt. They're still not taking accountability. They're still not taking out the garbage. They're still not helping me pay the bills. But some reason I'm allowing, there's that I'm again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm allowing.
No, it's okay.
For their apology to be a Band-Aid. Why am I allowing this? Because it's not making me feel good. It's not making me feel alive. It's not making me feel loved.
Right. Right. You can't feel loved if you feel attacked. And really, it's not the person who becomes defensive sometimes ends up being the attacker without recognizing it. And they believe that they're being attacked because you're bringing something up. And so in that dynamic, very specifically, it's the most painful. And it's when you're in an intimate romantic relationship, you're going to absorb each other. It's going to happen. Nobody can make you feel any kind of way, but yes, they can to a certain degree in a romantic relationship, because you feel what they feel. You want them to feel good. If they're not right, you're not right. If they're pissed off at you, that fucks up your whole day, doesn't it? You know what I mean? So it's important to have that clear and comfortable communication so that we can be at peace with one another. But that's not going to happen if we're not holding space to listen to each other. It's not going to happen if we're coming at that other person believing that they are there to attack us and against us. Mm-hmm. And so we have to present ourselves in a way that is open to hearing feedback of someone's observation of our patterns of behavior that we may not see ourselves, which requires accountability when you accidentally hurt their feelings. Now, with the last two conversations we had with narcissism, there's some people who do it on purpose, intentionally, and will intentionally gaslight you, manipulate you, defend, deflect, a whole, you know the difference. I think you know the difference.
Creative about it to mm-hmm. find the way that you believe them.
Yeah.
All right, we got some questions coming up in the chat. How about when the apology indeed didn't match up with the deeds and the relationship ended an amount of time later. And then likewise, experiences still feels as, but they apologized. Is that self-defense or survival mode?
They apologized during the relationship or after the relationship. Either way, it's too little too late because they already turned you off and you're already emotionally detached, because you can't be attacked 24/7 and expect to be turned on and attracted. So ultimately the closure is that you're not aligned. And actually it's a perfect question, because that's the other thing that I wanted to bring up. Mm-hmm. Is the as far as the where you go from there, is to understand you have a decision to make, because how they resolve conflict is going to impact every couple's decision and life decision together that occurs. And if you have to shrink yourself for someone else, you're not being authentic during. Okay. So, if they apologize when it's too little too late and you don't see any actions that show corrective behavior, it's pointless, because they're on their own little train. And why force yourself into a box you don't fit into? And why force somebody who doesn't really align with your true core values, affect you anymore? Let's put it that way.
Right.
I wouldn't go to that person for advice, because now I truly understand what's at their core of their values, and it does not align with me. So I will no longer allow it to impact my everyday peace and experience.
Exactly.
I will accept that radically and move on.
And without going too far into this, nothing you did was your fault.
Right.
So letting that rest and knowing that you tried. You brought it to their attention that you were upset. They half-assed apologized. Didn't mean it, because things didn't change. They just kept doing the same thing that they did doing. Meanwhile, you have this battle going on inside of you now. Am I not worth being treated well? And then that just expands and expands, and okay, there's an actual apology. I don't believe you anymore.
Yeah.
Because the damage has been done, and now you have the opportunity to be done with it. Give the body, give the mind, give the heart the opportunity to align, to heal, to come back to being worth it.
Yeah.
And we had another question. Algorithm would like to know, what about long distance relationships?
As far as apologies go, because it's no different. I mean, accountability still needs to be. It doesn't matter where you're located. It's the energy behind your intention and where your heart is at. With long distance relationships, though, it's really hard to see if their actions align with their words, because you're not there in person. That's the big problem with long distance relationships. Unless you're physically in someone's presence and see what they act like and how they behave with different life circumstances, you really don't know what they're like. They could tell you, because everybody has their own idea of what they're like. I got my own perspective of what I'm like. I don't know how I'm really like to some people. It might be a little too much. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, typically, like in a relationship, I would tell people that were having issues. I would say, I need you guys to remember that there are 3 lives here. Yours, his or hers, and ours.
Yeah.
In a long distance relationship, there's a 4th.
Yeah.
That just kind of came to me. It's like, yeah, there is a 4th, because that 4th is either truth or not. Because you have your life outside of chat or FaceTime. Mm-hmm. They have their life outside of chat or FaceTime. Then you have your time together on FaceTime. And then you have what's really happening.
Right. So unless you're doing like where you're 24 hours a day walking around with your videos at each other and your video living together so that you could see each other in action with every daily task that happens to them, you're really not going to know.
And without divulging whom, that's not even the case. Nope. Not every time, nope. What was that Jim Carrey movie?
Which one?
Where he was watched 24/7.
Oh, The Truman Show.
Truman Show, yes.
Yes.
You cannot live vicariously through the Truman Show relationship. Nope.
Mm-hmm. No. There was another question too. There's Steve asked, do I just attract toxic people? That's actually a mindset that I hear a lot. So I want to shift that for everybody, because sometimes that resentment builds into questioning your own self-worth. When you're gaslit and manipulated and shift blamed, you start to eventually, no matter how solid you are, eventually you're going to start to question your own self. So it's not that you're attracting toxic people, it's that toxic people just exist. Your job is to discern if that person is toxic and if you're going to move forward with them.
Yep.
And that means to not accept. You have to know where your parameters are and what you will and will not tolerate and accept in your experience. So if they believe that that's acceptable and you don't, it's not for you. Your job is never to fix anybody. It's to align yourself with what's true for you. So you got to give it time to see if they are toxic and decide, okay, now that I found out that you're toxic, I'm going to step away. Now, on that note, a lot of people are toxic. Why? Because society, culture, and religious programming made us that way. Not everyone is working on themselves. Not everyone is being considerate of how they affect others. Not everyone's trying to heal themselves and be a better person. Not everyone. Most people are just existing.
Yep.
So understand that it's not that you attract them, it's that they exist. And you just have to decide what you want, what you don't want, and when to walk away. You got to know when to fold up. You know?
Yeah.
Yes.
And sometimes we kind of veered off the topic, but that's okay. This conversation needs to be had.
Yeah.
Sometimes we attract the kind of people we think we're worth.
Mm-hmm.
And there could be arguments over that statement, but there is also truth.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we attract who we think we're worth. And who will give us the time of day? Who will be attracted to us?
Right. So understand that whatever we experience is meant for our learning. I know, Mommy. Okay. Is meant for our learning. So as long as we recognize our own patterns and analyze it so that we can learn about ourselves and move forward with new information that will catch something sooner or later on, because don't forget, there's decades to unlearn, decades of normalized unhealthy behavior that needs to be unlearned. So how you feel after they've apologized is an indicator that still something's not healthy. Something wasn't done and followed through on to repair and rebuild trust and rebuild connection. You're not wrong. You have to pay attention to yourself and you have to decide what's going on here that's not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we all learn the hard way, unfortunately.
You can't learn from mistakes you don't make.
Right. And then we don't understand the opposite end of that spectrum if we don't recognize the ugly side of it. We don't appreciate the beautiful side of that spectrum, the opposite side.
When it comes, I just noticed Pollyjammers said, I need deprogramming. Okay,
Yeah.
That's an interesting pressure that you like to hold on your shoulders, isn't it? I need to act differently. Damn it. Why do I keep doing it? Oh, wait. Because you keep thinking about doing it. How do you stop a program from running on a computer? How do you stop it? If it's just continuously running and running and running, how do you stop it? You turn the fucking thing off.
So I have a suggestion. Like in the 90s when we had to use VHSs, and sometimes the VHS was taped over for a show on TV. So you have to tape over it with new information. You have to rewire your brain by shifting your focus onto new information that is the healthy. Start learning new stuff. It's not a matter of deprogramming. You'll learn what's unhealthy as you input new data and upgrade your software with the antivirus in there. So that you could actually shift and rewire your brain into moving yourself forward seamlessly.
Yep. I had something and then I got distracted.
I'm looking at the comments to see. They're going too fast for me without the eyeballs on.
Oh, there it is. Polyjammers and anybody else who wants to try this out. Okay. Grab a journal, grab a piece of paper, go to OneNote, OneDrive, what Word, however you want to do it. Top of the page, what I don't want. What don't you want? What do you find yourself saying, I don't want? Whether it be certain type of person, certain type of behavior, everything that you don't want, write it out. Okay, when you're done with that, write out what you do want. Write it out as much as you can, as detailed as you can. And when you're done, scribble over every line of don't want. Because that's not where your focus needs to be if you want to do something different. No, you can't erase a person.
Nope.
You can't erase a memory. We are not erase production. You cannot erase a memory. You can't forget. No. You can move forward. You can take it as a lesson. You can do so many different things than you've been doing to hold on to it.
Yeah, and you can shift how you respond to it, and you can shift how you view it and your mindset around it.
And there's nothing wrong with rebelling.
Yes, and
those things happen.
I'm going to take her out too because I think now she's ready. But before I do that, I would like to just share something that I do for myself personally now, is understanding that every relationship dynamic is a discovery process to see if there's an alignment. So now I've taken to calling them case studies, and I do field work. So that's how I've reframed it for myself.
That's an interesting way.
Because, for me, I could spot it, and I'm watching myself experience it and go through it. So I see it as now, okay, what did I learn for this one? They're now fieldwork and case studies.
Just don't tell any of her future potential boyfriends that she's profiling them ahead of time, okay?
But they know. I tell them right out the gate. It's full disclosure.
I just want to let you know I'm profiling you. You would? Oh my God.
Oh, this is a fun conversation, but I think it was necessary because a lot of us hang on to resentments, and in this new moon energy, in this new, whatever's happening out here in the world, things are happening. So we want to be solid within ourselves, and we don't need any old resentments pulling us down because of apologies that were never given, that were never correct. And we need to know what real apologies sound like and what real action sounds like, and resolve, that there's a point, there's a purpose.
Yeah, if you're still in the midst of being gaslit with apologies, I guess we could say that.
Yeah.
Then it's time to, going back to the beginning reference, it's time to empty out the spaghetti.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you've already emptied out the spaghetti and you have the crust at the bottom, soak it in water, in warm water, okay?
Yeah.
Put a little Dawn in there, get your scrub brush, and start cleaning the bitch out, okay?
Yeah.
Because you don't have to. You're worth so much more than continuing to feel how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
If they've apologized, didn't mean it, continue to do the same things, and you had to make a rough decision. Give yourself the grace and the gift of just it be. Cleaning out that detritus, cleaning out all of the toxins that just built up. Cry it out, scream it out, holler it out, write it out, however you need to get it out. Because you don't have to feel this way.
No, and Karen brought something up that I just want to respond to real quick, about apologizing unnecessarily. I'm just going to sum it up to say that. So that is an indicator of being in an abusive relationship. When you come from being abused and experiencing emotional manipulation and the defensiveness and the nervous system is shot. So now you end up apologizing for everything, every move you make, everything you do, everything you think, everything comes out as like, I'm sorry, as if you shouldn't be taking up space. So that you need to catch yourself as you're doing it and stop yourself. Do not allow yourself to apologize for something that you don't need to apologize for. We're all guilty of it if we've experienced abusive relationships. So just know that you can get yourself to not do that anymore. If you're in a relationship where you're constantly apologizing, that's telling you it's not a healthy dynamic and you're not okay. That's what that's telling you. I hope that answered it.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's important to know.
But if you've been ridiculed or corrected time and again,
mm-hmm.
and it doesn't matter if you're doing things right or doing things wrong, but if you've been ridiculed and shunned, corrected, put down, whatever the case is, and you felt like you had to say sorry, that sticks. It sticks like that residue at the bottom of the spaghetti saucepan.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to. You don't have to be sorry.
Sometimes when they shift blame and deflect and get defensive like that and manipulate, you end up apologizing because you feel guilty that you even brought up how you feel, that you feel guilty for feeling that way. Mm-hmm. That's an indicator that it's not healthy. Stand firm.
I'll give you a healthy example, okay? Because I got called out on saying sorry today. Because after Risers in Flight, one of my agreements, one of the things that I want to make sure that is done is once the Zoom recording is available, I get it onto YouTube, onto the private playlist. And I got distracted from that for a couple of days and didn't get it. And so I put into the chat, sorry for the delay. Because I had made an agreement and it was with myself, not with them. They weren't expecting it right away, but it was an agreement with myself. So it was a sorry for the delay. I got distracted. It's ready now.
Yeah.
And Karen is a member of Risers in Flight, and she was the one who said, "Why are you sorry?"
Yes. Instead, start saying thank you. Thank you for your patience.
See?
Switch
Even
it.
coaches sometimes need to be.
Replacement. I call it replacement therapy. That's my words for it. Just take the bad habit and switch it out with something that's really healthy. Excuse
and
me.
Gratitude is a good way to switch it out.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Speaking of gratitude, we're going to give some thanks real quick
yes.
for everybody tuning in. And I know you need to take care of her.
Thank you. Yes, healingrose.org. And I do, just so everyone knows, I do more in-person stuff with regards to workshops. And I do free workshops for individuals in the neighborhood, in the community. So I kind of utilize them to assist the community to take them to their next level if they're not capable of, getting themselves other versions of assistance. So Healing Rose does work for the community.
Awesome. And we're so grateful for that. And then for me, that yellow over there, which I'll have to change as soon as I get sick of this and shave it. But anyone who's interested in more of my services, please. Both links are going to be in the description below so that you don't have to try and figure out how to scan the QR code. But if you are watching this on your computer or iPad and you got your phone and you want to scan it, either one that were just presented, you can. But I have Still Over and Evolve and Emerge, which the link is going to be also below in the description. If you're not a member yet, go over there and join, because I still have the Phoenix Fire Poll available, and it's your own tarot reading that you do, and you get the guidance you need right then. It's one card. You just select 1 to 5, but you don't do it here. It's for the members only. So go over and join Evolve and Emerge. And plus, I've got readings for everyone's budget. And just a tip off to the Rise members, check the chat. And that's all I'm going to say here. Check the chat. I'm going to say it again immediately after the show tonight for everybody. I have something for them. And we're going to shut up. I'm going to play our song out. Thank you guys for tuning in. I have no idea what the topic's going to be next week. I know it's my turn. But if you have suggestions,
we're going to find out.
If you have any suggestions, if there's something that you want us to talk about, reach out to either one of us. Follow the links down below. Send us a message, and we'll talk about it in the following episode. All right. So,
hi, everyone.
Love yourselves.
We love you.
And
go love yourself.
Yes. Keep going.
It's Brenda, Wolf, and Diane. So listen up if you can. Yeah, journey with them today as they help you find your way. Oh, mental wellness is the